Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. The next hour is all about the entrepreneur, why they start businesses, how they make their businesses grow, how they overcome failures and achieve success. Your hosts are Bob Gibbons, founder of Riata Commercial Realty, a commercial real estate advisory and tenant advocacy firm, and Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. Bob and Stephen will ask probing questions to find impactful solutions that will help take your business to the next level. And now, here's Bob Gibbons and Stephen Nooner.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. This is Bob Gibbons.
And this is Stephen Nooner, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. I've gotten to know Bryce Finnerty, CEO of HingePoint, over the last few years. We just keep running into each other, and what's really great about Bryce is every time I meet him, I learn something. So I'm really excited to have him here. Like I said, he's my mentor, and he doesn't even know it.
No pressure.
Yeah. HingePoint provides systems, consulting, and design services, and they focus on solving financial data problems, project management problems, client and sales pipeline problems. And we're going to learn what all the heck all of that means here in a minute. They started in 2010, currently employ 11 people, and if you want to learn more, please visit hingepoint.com. That's HINGE point.com. Welcome, Bryce.
Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here today. Well, we always like to start off with what's called wisdom of others, which is something other than Stephen pontificating about whatever he wants to talk about. So I understand you have a pretty interesting quote. What do you got for us today?
Well, the quote that really stuck in my mind is from a mentor of mine, Joe Kesterson, and he's the founder of Titan Homes, and he was mentoring us at a group called Biz Owners Ed, and his big thing is don't make your family pay twice. So,
What does he mean?
Yeah, what that means to me is that while you're gone all the time, you know, father has to provide, so he's out of the house a lot working hard. Right. But so that's sort of the family paying once you're not around. But when you come home, leave work behind and be present in the house. Otherwise, if you're not, you're really making them pay twice. You're still an absentee father at home. So.
Yeah.
Wow. I've been guilty of that. Whenever I started my business, I know I had the office away from the house because my wife homeschooled the kids. And then I'd come home at night, and we had a little table in the family room, den, whatever. So if they were watching TV or playing a game or whatever, I'd be over at that table working. And I kind of tried to pretend like, hey, at least I was in the area, right? But for a while there, they kind of were like, well, one night I was sitting on the couch with them, and they're like, are you not going to have to work tonight? And I was like, oh, man, I felt bad because I was making them pay twice. I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but that's a great way to say it.
Well, I definitely wrestle with that. The thing that I wrestle with probably even more, which is even worse, if I'm going to be candid, we're about to talk about technology, is technology itself. I mean, just doesn't even have to be work. A text message, this or that, the other. The kind of the new thing I've been really focused on is how do I, a lot of times I go now and I put my iPhone in our closet on the charger when I get home because I know if I have it, I don't even know how. It's like next thing you know, I'm holding it and I'm looking at it instead of connecting. So that's a great quote. I really appreciate it.
When you say that, we were having a family talk the last weekend, and I noticed I was holding my phone, and it wasn't even lit up, but I was holding it, and I'm like, it's Sunday. I don't have my phone.
Yeah.
I'm not making any calls. So I'm like, I got to put this thing away.
It doesn't feel right if you don't have it connected. My kids are grown, so they're in their 20s, both of them. And they've told me about sometimes their friends, when they get together for dinner, they all put their phones in the middle of the table, and whoever grabs the phone first pays for everyone.
That's nice.
That's pretty good.
That's nice because you know what happens if they don't do that, right? The millennials, they go to the bathroom and check it, right?
Exactly. But you can't grab it. If it's in that table, you're done. So, well, that's cool. Well,
yeah, no, I mean, Bryce, I think you have a super fascinating background and story and just your journey in becoming an entrepreneur. So why don't we start there? how did you become an entrepreneur? Like, tell us a little bit about your background and how that journey all began to form.
Yeah, so it really all started back in 2006 when I formed my first consulting firm. And prior to that, I was a consultant in systems and software development up in Washington, D.C., and kind of living the D.C. consulting lifestyle. And I felt...
which is what? Like, what does that look like?
What is that lifestyle?
Yeah.
That is get up at 5 in the morning, try to beat traffic, get to the office or the client site, work from 7 in the morning till 8 at night, waiting till traffic's over, then driving home, getting home around 9 or 10 at night.
Did you have kids at that time, or?
I did. I had 3 kids.
Okay.
And when it really struck me is when I had a baby, and I was not seeing her because I was getting home after the baby went to bed.
Mm.
Oh.
And that's when I was like, wow, this isn't working. So to try to beat traffic and still get in a 8 to 10 hour day, you start bracketing with a commute that starts early in the morning and comes home late at night. And so luckily in Dallas, we don't have that problem quite so much. But
not yet.
in the big cities, you'll see people, taking that pattern. And so that was sort of the genesis of the idea that I've got to somehow break out of this kind of what I thought was my career path.
Mm-hmm.
And so that coincided actually with a big life change. Prior to that, I was an atheist, I think we talked about. And believe it or not, I became born again, which is that is basically I became a believer in Jesus. And so what's miraculous about that, other than the whole story about what that actually means, is it changed everything in my life. Within 3 weeks of that day, I'd formed a partnership with a consultant I'd been working with for a long time. He actually lived in Dallas. That's how I wound up here.
Wow.
So
2 months later, I'd sold my house, and 4 months later, I lived in Plano.
Wow. So why couldn't you be an entrepreneur as an atheist?
I don't know if those are really correlated so much.
Is that not a causal relationship?
It does. It does.
Kind of sounded like
it definitely tests your faith.
Well, I'd always actually had the dream coming up in the engineering ranks, and
Mm-hmm.
you always saw a lot of the really strong partners, like in architects or engineering firms. You see construction companies, like the smart ones, almost always seem to spin out and create their own firm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched that pattern over and over again, and I'm like, wow, their company's successful, and I saw them growing. I'm like, wait, spinning out actually works.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of had this vision that someday when I had enough experience, I would spin out and create a firm.
So it wasn't really so that was kind of a vision that had always been laid on your heart, but then you went through a life change.
Yep.
And it immediately followed. So how did that impact, so obviously doors started opening, but how did that impact the choices you made and how you moved ahead into the entrepreneurial world versus the way you saw maybe that leap as an atheist versus, okay, like I have this newfound faith, like did you make different choices?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started that, okay, this is a new chapter.
Mm-hmm.
This is totally different. If you're an atheist, that's not the most popular decision to make. So I was like, well, I'm going to be this new guy now. Maybe this is when I basically should start taking these steps I've always wanted to, and maybe that kind of gave essentially permission now to do this. And then this partner that I was working with, another consultant from Dallas, we're like, well, why not team up on this stuff? So we basically spun off and created a partnership.
Okay.
So was that partnership the first company, the Venture Launch Partners?
Yeah.
So that was the one that you created after your conversion?
Yep.
Okay.
And that company did?
So Venture Launch Partners was very similar to what we do now. It was actually a technology strategy company that we could launch companies using good systems. So if a company was new, a lot of the struggles of an entrepreneur, as you know, is kind of setting up your systems and processes.
Sure.
Well, as basically process engineers and systems engineers, we knew all the best practices. We worked with some of the greatest companies in the world and built their software and systems.
Okay.
So like, well, what if we abstracted that down to a simple, almost like a small business platform?
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a few startups. One almost got profitable, was profitable for a quarter, and then all that kind of ran its course until about 2008 and 2009 with the recession.
Mm-hmm.
And those startups basically were being set up to be sold. And at that time, there was no venture capital available because of the recession. So basically, no one was buying businesses. So that sort of ended that chapter at that time.
And so that ended it. I mean, did it end well with that partner? I mean, you guys still friends?
Yeah.
And
My
all that?
friend
Okay,
Lewis, we had a fair, kind of separation
Sure.
and remained friends. We actually go to church together, and
Cool.
that was probably a good thing because not all business relationships end well. I think,
They said the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, right? So,
So
I've
why
not
did
heard that one.
why did you move to Plano though? What was it about moving to Plano that was necessary to start a business?
Yeah, so what I thought you were going to ask before is how you be an entrepreneur and an atheist. Well, it's hard to be almost like an entrepreneur in your hometown, if you will.
mhm.
And then the real reason, I thought it'd be hard to start a consulting business in Washington where there are so many consulting shops
Gotcha.
there
Mm.
with the federal government. It's a very
Consultant
competitive
heavy.
market for
Yeah.
consulting. But the real reason is I didn't have any money.
Okay.
I was a father. My wife was a stay-at-home mom living in Washington, D.C., trying to raise 3 kids inside the Beltway, expensive area.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically had no money. So I sold my home up there, and homes are worth a little more up there than in Texas. So I had to move to kind of a secondary market, at least in terms of home values.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had some equity in my home, and that's what we used to live on for the first year
Smart move.
while we got started down here.
Yeah, a guy asked me one time from Southern California, "What should I do? I own a house worth $800,000, and he's driving a cab." I said, "Sell your house, quit being a cabbie, move to Texas, and you can buy any house you want and start a business."
Thanks for that, Bob.
Not sure you
I
ever
took
did
your
that.
advice, Bob.
So you were the guy. You were
Yes.
listening. I didn't know it.
Maybe I was that guy.
Well, cool. All right. So, but Plano specifically, was it just you'd heard about this area, or was your partner
We
aware
did.
of
We
that?
started researching it. My wife started getting excited about the move, and we're all a little bit excited about getting out of the rat race. And so the trade up for the family is, well, Plano looks pretty good on paper.
Mhm.
Like homes look better,
Schools.
bigger. We got a great school district. We're in probably one of the most best school district tracks kind of
Right.
coming through Plano. So it was just a very safe, stable platform for the family.
Very good. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to The Next Level on 1190 AM.
Stick around.
Hi, this is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty. If your office lease is going to be expiring in the next year or two, the one thing I would tell you you definitely do not want to do is exercise a renewal option. Now, that may sound a little nuts when you negotiate for that renewal option. Why wouldn't you actually want to use it? Well, the reason is because while you want to have one as a reservation for your space so the landlord can't lease the space out from under you, that option may not actually work the way you want it to now. It may have made sense 5 years ago, but it doesn't today. The only thing that changes when you exercise a renewal option are the expiration date and the rent. But you may want to do other things like have another option to renew, have an option to terminate or expand. You may want to be able to expand now or have a new base year for your operating expenses. There's all kinds of things that need to be considered. So we recommend that you renegotiate, not renew. For more information, contact me, Bob Gibbons, at texastenantrep.com. That's texastenantrep.com. We're here with our guest, Bryce Finnerty of HingePoint. You can learn more about his company at hingepoint.com.
You're so not friendly. Welcome back.
Did I say welcome back? I
No,
didn't say that. I
you
just said
didn't.
we're here with.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I know, Bob. That's totally not sincere.
Okay, so Bryce, we were talking beforehand about moving from Washington, D.C. to Plano to start a business. One of the things that really does, however, you were saying it's hard to start a business in your own town sometimes. But what was your support mechanism? I mean, once you got here, who did you know? Did you have family? Did you have friends? Did you know anybody? Did you even know anybody from a business perspective? So,
Other than my business partner, honestly, I did not know anybody here.
was he already from here?
Yeah, he lived in Plano.
Okay.
So
that
that
makes a
seemed
little
like a
sense.
logical choice. And Yeah, so I'll be totally honest with you. Said it's not the most popular thing to be from the Northeast and move to Texas.
We've gotten used to it.
I think they're still scarred from the Waco thing from 3 decades ago. But so it sounds weird to a Washingtonian to say we're moving to Texas, and so I did not have a lot of support, honestly, even oddly from family and even siblings, and I think people are kind of always like, "Wow, I wonder if this is going to work." They wonder how crazy this move is.
Well, and I mean, like, and let me just say this as a perspective as also a fellow believer of Jesus Christ, right? But they probably thought you lost your mind, right? I mean, so if you're an atheist, you convert, right? And then you go move, you sell your house, sell everything, move across the country to go start a business. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I might be like,
did you
okay,
join
what's
a
going
cult
on here,
or
right?
what?
Right? Yeah. Think about
Where
that.
at in Texas?
If your
Waco?
kid just dropped, "Hey, Dad, I'm quitting my job and I'm moving across the country and
Yeah.
joining a church and I'm starting a business,"
Yeah.
you'd be like, "Really, son?"
Yeah. So how did they respond? I mean, I know you didn't have a lot of support, but I mean, like, also that's a lot of change for your family, your wife. I mean, were they already believers? I mean, like, was it?
Most of my family are not believers, but for my extended family, but the immediate family, it was very positive.
Okay.
Like my wife was excited about it. We were sort of ready to get out of the rat race. I mean, they knew it was tough that I was traveling all the time and
Sure.
got home late and had to work weekends and nights. And in the systems world, a lot of systems deployments happen in the evening and on weekends. So lots of late night stuff. Wearing pagers, if you remember those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We are the guys who wore pagers. And when you got paged, you got up and you drove into work. That meant like something was wrong with the system. So the immediate family thought it was great, and I found a very good support network just in Dallas. There's like in my neighborhood, I think almost half the families have an office in their home, and one of the parents are working out of the house. So that kind of work from home consultant is a very common business model in Plano that I was kind of surprised. I didn't know hardly anybody in Washington that worked from home at the time.
Wow.
So did you join any organizations to kind of start building a network once you got here?
Or was that with your next business?
I think it's really around the next business that we even talked about strategic coach. So the segue was when my partner wanted to go into product companies, and I'm like, well, I really have to do what works well for me. And that's always been like systems consulting in this construction vertical and helping automate the construction industry. And so that's when we started HingePoint in 2010. And that's when my financial advisor actually was in strategic coach and said, hey, why don't you join strategic coach? It's really cool. And I told you, like, I saw some of your collateral when we first met and ours, and we have our unique process.
Yeah.
And it's a unique ability company.
Yeah. And for those who aren't familiar with strategic coach, it's an entrepreneurial coaching program. And I mean, everyone gets something a little bit different out of it, but they take you through a process to help you grow in the areas that you want to grow in. And if you're one of those is your business, they help you build a self-managing company with people with unique abilities surrounding you and supporting your unique ability and your unique vision.
Yeah.
Fair summary for their little commercial?
Yeah. So, basically, it's almost like what the doctor or the expert kind of business model or lawyer. You build up like superior skill in what you're gifted at, and then you wrap a business around that, and then nobody can compete with that because you're just so good. Mm-hmm. No one can really catch up with the best surgeon. So everyone will just seek out the best surgeon, right? So the best engineer, the best software developer.
Right. So you picked a vertical for HingePoint, which is construction. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you do some others, but that's really where your unique, specialization is, right?
Yep.
So what does automation mean? What does all that mean for, I'm driving down the road now and I got a construction company, like what do you do for me?
Yeah, so the interesting thing, I was a systems engineer, and then I got a civil engineering degree. And then as much as I was trying to be a practicing civil engineer, and that's kind of the construction and real estate side, and land development, they kept steering me back toward the IT guy because I was a programmer and strong on the system side.
Okay.
So when I kind of came up with the unique ability model, I'm like, fine, I've always been helping construction companies with their software.
Okay.
And so what that means is basically the fundamentals of the construction industry is fractured because of all the subcontractors they use.
Yes.
And we work for a lot of big brands, and they franchise buildings, and then they have to build out like lots of Marriotts or lots of Chick-fil-A's or lots of Under Armour stores. And so they're building a lot of the same building.
Right.
And so to get scale and efficiency, you can almost turn it into a transaction by automating all the steps and the phases, and a lot about documents. There's a lot of documents involved in construction.
Sure.
And then these days, there's so much cool construction technology out there.
And it's coming online every day, too. I mean, new stuff coming on.
Yeah, I saw a report that over 4,000 new tech startups in construction and real estate every year now.
Wow.
It's kind of an old
4 of them will
industry.
make it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll see. So this is I'm sure there'll be an age of consolidation coming.
Yeah.
But you see all this cool stuff from in home and in office and automated buildings and like virtual reality, and
Yeah.
it's just getting wild out there.
So is your customer the company that you mentioned, like Under Armour and Chick-fil-A and all that, that is going to ultimately use the building, or is it the general contractor and the architect that are building the building for that customer? Which of those is your customer?
It's both, actually. So some of our clients are big brands that are building a lot of assets, or like one of our clients is Harwood, the Harwood district downtown Dallas, and they're building out 14 city blocks.
Right.
And so
A little project.
yeah, a little project, just changing the Dallas skyline. And so it's just helping organize their documents, helping them go mobile. So while you're out in the field, when you leave your desk, do you have all the information you need when you go out to the job site? Kind of field to office collaboration. And so the cloud and going mobile is really the solution to that. So you can access your data if it's in the cloud, while you're out in a construction site.
So it has all the documents needed, the construction documents, and all the renderings or whatever all the things are, that contracts that are needed for that project are all right there in one spot, and all the parties to it can access that at the same time.
Yeah, so the architects can put their drawings in, the engineers, the construction guys can do their construction modeling. We do a lot of 3D modeling of buildings, what they call a building information model. It's basically a 3D database of building information. And that's valuable to different roles: the design phase, the construction phase, and then operations once the building's built. And if you're a real estate developer, I think like you are, right? So
Actually, I'm not a real estate developer. I'm a tenant rep, or a real estate advocate for the user. So I represent the company that leases and high-rise office buildings and warehouses. I used to be a landlord, and I worked for developers in the past, but that's been a long time. I don't do that anymore.
it's on the development side. They're shopping for ideas and shopping for dirt and what kind of assets would work well in this city or this part of town. And they as well have to collect tons of documents to do their due diligence and deal flow. So it's almost full circle. How do you plan developments, design developments, build them, and then operate them?
So you're creating the tools to help all these people manage their business and the process and how to design it. But it sounded like you were saying that you have that 3D model. Is that technology you guys created, or are you just grabbing all these different technologies from different sources and packaging them up in some sort of like systems integrator type situation?
Yeah, it's very much an integration. So we take the information from the architects, the engineers, pro forma, even maybe investment banking information, put them all together into one system and kind of aggregate them.
Interesting.
Kind of pulls all those fractured parts back into like a whole.
Something useful, right? I mean, all the parts, it's hard to make all the connection points, right?
Yeah, and the hard part is they're all in separate companies. And so the solutions we create are, hey, everybody post your stuff in here kind of like singing off the same song sheet, if you will.
And how hard is that? Because that's one of the things that I always think is a big challenge is I may love a new piece of technology or software or whatever, but how do I get all the other players to buy into that and actually use it?
So that's actually our secret sauce. We, if you will, we build our solutions on top of technology you already own. So everyone loves like email and Microsoft, right? Almost everyone uses Word and Excel, and then Microsoft in the cloud is called Office 365, right?
Yep.
Well, if you just move your company there, you can move email, documents, your intranet, and all these things. We have pre-built apps, essentially Microsoft compatible or Salesforce compatible, or basically whatever software you run. We have apps that kind of are compatible with the most common platforms.
Okay, let's pick this up on the other side. We're going to take another break. You're listening to The Next Level on 1190 Talk Radio.
Stick around.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I've been an empowered team member at Alkali for over 5 years. I first learned about Alkali through an online job board and was intrigued to learn that Alkali was a Dave Ramsey endorsed local provider. But what captivated me was Alkali's mission statement, which is closely aligned with my own beliefs. So what's kept me at Alkali for over 5 years? First, Alkali's 5 core values match my own. Second, I've been empowered to use my unique abilities to impact our community, our clients, and Alkali. If you'd like to learn more about becoming an empowered Alkali team member, visit our website, alkaliservices.com. That's ALKALI services.com.
Welcome back. Did you notice us say welcome back?
I did notice that.
All right. Well, welcome back. We're here with Bryce Finnerty, CEO of HingePoint, hingepoint.com.
Hey, so Bryce, before the break, we were talking about your product and how you take all these different software packages and things that we probably already have, and you have a special sauce to put all those things together. If I already have all those things, is it that you're training us how to use all those things properly, or you actually have something that forces all those things to talk to each other and make them more powerful?
Yeah, it's two things. We make them talk to each other, and then we take essentially if you've just kind of bought the software, our solutions are apps that basically configure it around your business. So you may not have taken the time to set it up perfectly. And so our apps are kind of like a rapid deployment of a best practice, if you will, that you could just very quickly set up.
So is there and you don't need to give it into the exact numbers, but so how do you price something like this? Is this like a subscription model, a software as a service type thing? Is it a consulting fee once in a while, or?
It's actually both. If you want like custom software development, we do kind of one-off project estimates, and we typically do fixed price because everyone wants to know what they're getting for how much they're paying. And then we also have a software as a service model that's we just actually rolled out 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congrats.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of the exciting part. We just released 45 apps that are a kind of segment, and you can just buy this piece or that piece, whatever's relevant to kind of the challenge you're facing right now.
Oh, that's very neat.
So
where did that idea come from?
Really leveraging a trend that
Sure.
Americans love payment plans.
Sadly.
As long as they can make the payment, they're happy. So instead of, so let me give you a quick example. So we sell a connector from Microsoft to the construction cloud, and that vendor told us to price it at $25,000. I'm like, well, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
Just as a one-time.
One-time, $25,000, that's the software license.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, depends.
I mean, it's all relative, but I mean, yeah, exactly.
Right.
How big of a problem does it solve?
Yeah, exactly. How big of a problem was it that it solved? Exactly. So the new pricing is $99 a month.
Wow. That's a bit different.
Yeah, how does that sound?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Unless I have to keep it for the next 45 years.
Well,
you
it'll
can
probably
keep it-
evolve. It's technology, right?
So it's kind of us putting our money where our mouth is. $99 will eventually add up to more than $25,000 if you have more than 20 projects for over 4 years. But if you don't, you only want to use it in bite-sized chunks. So it's kind of us stepping up going, you can just use our utility for the time that's flexible for you. very affordable. So we're hoping that's going to help us kind of help more clients.
Yeah.
Well, in that industry, everything is project based. So they always want to be able to say, hey, how much is, do I allocate to this project for insurance, for, software, for everything. So pricing it that way, I would think would be much more compatible with the way they think anyway.
Yep. Easy to budget. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Easy business case.
So what's the big challenge then? I mean, that sounds like easy, no-brainer, right? And you should have more than 10 employees at this point, Bryce, and whatever. I mean, like, what's the challenge?
I think the big challenge is targeting the right people who need it. That we're kind of in a boom town right now, economically, nationally. Right. I mean, the markets are at record highs.
Yeah.
I mean, America's
we're
winning again, and
sorry.
So anyway, we are sort of on an economic high cycle, and so in construction and real estate, it's kind of a boom town.
Mm-hmm.
So people are successful in spite of themselves. We have construction clients who are just like, we cannot bid the jobs fast enough.
That is true, and the prices are going up. It's incredible. So I mean, but do they not feel the need for you? I mean, is that the issue? Is that they think, well, I've got so much business, what do I need this product for?
It's probably a little of that. It's maybe not the right time. They're too busy focusing on trying to capitalize on the opportunity before them, that it's not time to modernize. People do sometimes modernize actually in a downturn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do more with less, and they see technology as a strategy.
They've got time to learn.
Right.
But some are realizing they are kind of antiquated, and that they do have challenges to growing, and so they're kind of leaving money on the table by using old methods. And they're seeing these high-tech firms really, run a well-oiled machine, and I think they start to realize, maybe we're not as competitive.
Yeah.
They're successful in spite of themselves, really because of the market.
Right. So how do you have some sort of program that says, hey, if you'll use us, I promise you're going to be, more successful in some way by using these tools?
Yeah, so we always, when I was a consultant, we always had to justify our IT expenditures on a return on investment. So we literally have a guarantee and a trademark on results guaranteed. And so we will guarantee a 4 times return on investment. So if I ask you to invest $1, I will guarantee you will get $4 back.
And how do you measure that?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you do that?
That seems really hard.
Like
using the old process engineering techniques of, you look at your current process, and then we look at what we know to be a better process, an automated one. And we can usually show almost a 20 times over traditional methods over an automated method, for instance. So say uploading a CAD file digitally could take a minute. Printing them all out, putting them in a FedEx tube, and FedExing them across the country.
You can measure that.
Can take about 3 days and cost about $100. So we can upload a file for about $1 versus $100. So that would have 100 times our ROI, for instance, if you're still mailing out paper drawings.
Right.
So we basically literally compare where are you today, your current state, with your future state. And we prove it to you in a case study. So once we put your software in place, we show your company made it from this level up to the next level, the next level show.
Very nice.
Work that in.
And that's the HingePoint, if you will, the $100 word. So we prove to them we've brought your business from here to there, and we objectively measure it with metrics. And
so
that's
cool.
how.
What do you do when they don't use the software the way they're supposed to?
That's a tough one. That's probably our biggest challenge.
What do you do when Bob Gibbons is your client?
You don't want that.
He drops his iPhone in the toilet.
It's sad. It's again, they're probably busy and just didn't have time for the rollout. We do have full service and support. That's part of that software as a service that's included. That we can be your implementer. You have built-in support. You can ask us questions. We do training. That's all part of it.
Now, okay, let me stop you real quick. Why is that included? Because and the reason I ask that is because I just signed up for a new, SaaS product that I'm going to start using in my company, and they price their support separately and in different tiers. So you can get the online support only for this amount, you can get the real live body for this amount, et cetera. So I'm curious, why is that not a separate thing in your case instead of altogether?
Because we just want to be turnkey. Just we solve it, we own it, and if you pay this, we will own it as well. And built in here is enough budget that we know we can support you and keep the system up. So it's basically to help with that adoption.
Is it realistic for somebody to be able to implement it and understand how to use it well on their own without the service?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yep.
And I'm just listening here. It seems to me to reason that it's hard to guarantee an ROI without that piece, right?
Yeah.
If you have that guarantee,
that's why we do it in a case study.
Yeah.
If you buy a Salesforce license and we do a case study and prove to you how much better your business would be if you migrated to Salesforce,
right,
and then you choose to not use it,
right,
that would be your decision.
Gotcha.
But we would have demonstrated our software would have brought a lot of value.
So let's, we definitely have talked about your customers are in the construction business and architecture and that kind of thing. Can you be more specific about sort of who is your ideal client?
I think the ideal client is typically a family-owned construction or real estate development company, and they have a lot of success. They have a lot of wisdom. Sometimes they're second generation, and then the next generation is taking over, and they're kind of like, hey, Dad, maybe we should be able to use our phones at work or want a little more flexible lifestyle. They're more tech savvy. And so they're somehow creating some sort of need to transform. So our ideal client has to be one of those companies who now realize they're leaving money on the table or they're having trouble recruiting talent because they're kind of antiquated. And now they're going, it's a strategy for us to modernize. And so they have to be ready to invest in technology. But it's not about the investment. The investment's trivial. They have to be ready to change in their mind.
Yeah.
Right.
They will have to want to adopt it, as you're saying.
Someone who prefers short-term pain over long-term pain.
There you go.
I like the way you said that. That's not where I thought it was going. Okay, so whenever you're dealing with these folks, and so is it a generational thing? Is it ultimately that the old guys don't get it and don't want to get it, and the young guys do?
I don't know if it's always that. I think it's right. I don't know. You have to be living under a rock not to know that going cloud and mobile would be a wise strategy. You wouldn't want to go the other way. Lock
Right.
yourself to a desktop computer and take yourself off the internet. So, Bob, is that what you do, Bob?
That is not me.
Okay.
I'm very mobile.
Right. So doesn't everyone sort of want their business on their phone? So I think everyone gets that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know how to do it, and it's not their specialty, right? So people who know how to build things, we Americans should we should honor the construction industry. The people who built America,
Yeah.
they have this hands-on skill set and knowledge. You imagine, do you know how to build a skyscraper?
I'd like to see Steven up on some of those beams sometime.
Challenge accepted.
All right, we're going to do a break. You're listening to The Next Level on 1190 Talk Radio.
Stick around.
Hi, I'm Suresh.
And I'm Shri. We were Chargeback Gurus. Thankfully, I didn't have to pay for this interview with Bob and Steven on the Next Level show. Otherwise, I could be helping them reverse my own chargeback.
Welcome back to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. We're here with our guest, Bryce Finnerty of HingePoint, and you can find them at HingePoint.com.
So, Bryce, one thing that I'm kind of curious about, and just in general with your business, is how do you prevent what happened to you, right? The spin-out idea. How do you, one, hire and attract good people that allow you to build that business and build that scale? But then how do you keep them from going and wanting to do the same thing?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't had that come up yet where someone spun off and did the same thing.
Yeah.
But the way we attract people is ideally, we actually did have a funny story. a guy resigned in January.
Uh-huh.
He was an excellent data analyst and just a genius at a UT. And he resigned, a young man, 25, to go into farming.
Oh, wow.
My wife said, "Oh, man, that's a
Wow.
cool career for millennials." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that. You
Yeah.
want to go from UT finance and into farming."
And you know what's funny? He'll probably be a gazillionaire, right? I
He
mean,
probably will.
My cousin, I mean, they're similar story. He got an MBA from prestigious university, and he bought a shoe cobbler, and everyone made fun of him. But now he's got multiple factories in Mexico, and they have these huge. I mean, it's a gazillion-dollar business, and it's like shoe cobbler, what? You know?
Yeah, I had a client whose son graduated with an MBA, and then he became a butcher, but he started opening up multiple shops. He's doing really well.
Yeah.
All right, so if you haven't had to deal with that where they're walking out the door and being competitive, how do you recruit them and make sure you're getting the right
Yeah,
people?
especially in a tech-hungry world where that skill set is in high demand.
Yeah, so we try to focus on like what I wanted for myself and my family. What if we could offer that to more families? So we have a flexible work style, work from home actually in a virtual office.
Really, all employees?
Yep.
Wow.
And we had an office in Addison. We actually closed it because we had been there 6 months and not one client came to the office. So we're like, we're not impressing anyone by driving up and down the toll road if the clients don't see it.
Yeah.
And so that culture I wanted for myself, we're now offering to others. And so we're a kind of a purpose-driven company. We get people in their strengths using Culture Index, like a profiling tool.
Uh-huh.
And then we create a job that profile would love
Okay.
and challenge them and motivate them that way. And since it's entrepreneurial and we're growing, there's a lot of upside. So it's kind of that cool startup opportunity.
Sure.
So from that perspective, we haven't lost anybody yet that people really enjoy. And actually, I've had people cry on my shoulder how HingePoint has saved their family.
Wow.
But perhaps more interesting roles like farming
Yeah.
might be a bigger threat.
Well, yeah, right. So let's talk. I mean, accountability, right? Everyone works from home. You guys are growing. Obviously, there's work to be done. But I mean, what does accountability look like in that environment? And I'm curious for yourself because we are now. We have a couple of employees in Kentucky. I mean, we're getting more. So what does that look like? I want to learn from you here.
Okay, yeah. So I teach on this a lot. Being systems engineers, we're all systematic. So we're probably a little too disciplined at times. But we call it a performance scorecard-driven framework. So with every job, there's these metrics you have to hit. So if you apply for a job, you will know the metrics that you're signing up for.
Okay. Like
if
as
you-
part of the job offer, I accept this job. I have to meet these metrics.
Yeah, if you want a marketing job, you have to get 30,000 impressions a month. You have to get 10,000 web hits. You have to generate 200 leads.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
that's the marketing job.
Don't hire me.
Okay, so they know that, and then we measure that every week in a weekly scorecard, and that's how you know you're done on Friday. You fill out your scorecard, and you have to hit your score.
Okay.
And we review it on Monday, and the sad thing is if you don't hit your score 2 weeks in a row, we try to find another role where you can hit your score, or
Wow.
we encourage you to win at some other company, but you're not winning at HingePoint.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Dang. So
2 weeks really means 3 weeks. This means we really missed a month.
Gotcha.
So
I mean, how do you know when those factors are not being hit because of that person's personal efforts versus some external factor that they didn't really have control over?
Oh, well, you have definitely missed numbers. I've missed my scorecard.
More than 2 weeks?
Why are we talking to you?
No, of course there's a judgment calls and seasonality, like December slow, like with the holidays and
Right.
so on. So yes, it's accumulative too. Like it also carries over. So if you killed it last week, you got a little buffer for this week.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a structure, but you employ some of the grace you found.
Yeah, there's
occasionally when
structure,
yeah.
exactly. There's structure, and we try to call it a fair place to work. And it's kind of my favorite book is Jim Collins' Good to Great. And he talks about people winning, and winners want to play a game where they can win. If you're not keeping score, winners don't play.
Right.
And so people who love that, they appreciate that over like a political environment where maybe
Yeah.
job performance isn't really measured.
That's good stuff.
Interesting.
So
So let me ask about the culture real quick.
Yeah.
Because to hire people and to be focused on the culture index like you are, and yet they all work from home, that in some ways would seem to be incongruous. How do you have a corporate culture when you're never together and everybody's working from their homes, wherever that might be?
Well, we're out at client sites a lot together, and we actually do have an office up in Plano now,
Yeah.
a Jaeger office suites.
Oh,
It's
sure.
kind of set up like a bullpen, like where we come and have meetings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have weekly one-on-ones in person. Everyone has a weekly one-on-one with their teammates and with myself. And then we have a weekly, it's called Level 10 from Traction.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then there's a daily huddle that's actually a conference call. But we probably see each other almost every day, one way or another, at a client site or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I've been to your place when you join Entrepreneurs Organization. I'm on the membership committee and did Bryce's site visit. It's like I gotta squat, and I go in there. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and that's where we learned about that. But I appreciate you sharing that accountability piece. That's something new.
Yeah, so that's kind of the trick to keep people
Okay.
aligned and on track. And
So if there's one thing you could change about your business, what would that be?
we're passionate about what we do, and we strongly believe we can help people. The biggest problem or challenge we face is finding enough people to help. We know our solutions are affordable by almost any company, and we think they would benefit almost everybody. But finding the right season in their life that they have just the right amount of time and it hits their radar as something important to them, and then intersecting that with some sort of marketing message by us.
So how are you doing that now?
We have basically an inbound content strategy marketing. So as we're experts, so we use a knowledge sharing expert. So we write lots of articles and ebooks, and we're real active online. Just search Bryce Finnerty, you'll find me. And a lot of our staff writing articles. So people find our information, and then if they're researching that topic and they need more help, they might come in, and that's like an inbound marketing strategy.
So you're trying to attract them. You're not going out and hunting them down and trying to force them to talk to you by calling them or walking in their door?
That's correct. We don't do really cold calling, that sort of thing.
Do you just out of curiosity, you're a systems guy? Do you use like a HubSpot to manage like that? Do you use some sort of platform yourself? Or is it
Our website
self-developed?
is a WordPress website.
Okay.
We believe it's higher performance in some cases over HubSpot, although I'm a big HubSpot fan because it's got so much built-in functionality. I know some wildly successful HubSpot companies.
Yeah. So what's the biggest opportunity in your business right now?
I think the biggest opportunity is we saw that the commercial real estate and economic forecast came out for Texas back in January, and it looks like Texas is going to be a growth region for decades to come. Millennials are moving here at almost 2 to 1. Businesses are moving here. There's sort of trends that are going to be sustainable long-term trends. And so I'm just excited about that this is a good place to be, that the industry is doing well, and that we're hoping that means we can fulfill our mission. There'll be more people to help.
And biggest challenge. What keeps you up at night?
We were talking before the show. What keeps me up at night is honestly cash flow and finance. Growth takes money.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, as an entrepreneur, right, you fund that growth. We're bootstrapped. We're not big fans of debt. So always that big balance of, employees are multipliers. So when do you know to hire?
Yeah.
And then see that growth that comes with it. And so that whole dance keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Who to hire? Should we hire? Should we keep the cash?
Is this a short-term pain or a long-term pain scenario here, right?
Yeah,
And
so that's
And what's the one thing that you should stop doing?
interesting you say that. As the entrepreneur, it's hard to let go. I try to train and say our strategy is, let me teach you everything I know because I founded the business, and then we'll let you guys run with it. We have kind of this next generation leadership team. and I've received feedback from them that maybe I'm doing a little too much teaching and let the reins off a little bit. So I made a pact with them literally yesterday. Hey guys, if you want to be taught, I'll teach, but otherwise I'll listen and to your ideas, and even maybe you guys should start running the quarterly strategy meetings. I'll try to keep my hand on the rudder with networking, and I'm kind of a technology evangelist. I'm out in the market a lot speaking and so on. But
being an entrepreneur is a lot like being a parent. You're growing your baby, and the older they get, the more you need to let go. And when they see that independence, they thrive. And yet, what's the right time? And that's why the teen years for kids is so hard, because they're feeling all this independence, and yet they really are not ready for it. And so how do you do that? And I see the same thing in businesses.
Deep Thoughts by Bob Gibbons.
Well, Bryce, thanks so much for being our guest today. We've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Listeners, please go to HingePoint.com. If you want to learn more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com. And you can also find us on podcast at The Next Level Show on whatever podcast you like.
Help spread the word. Someone
week.
probably needs to hear this. Have a great week.
thank you.